Warm, patient, intimate. He didn't rush her. Marcus had a way about him. The kind of patience that made you feel chosen, not chased. Marcus was a professional basketball player. His life moved fast. Games, travel, attention. Everything about his world was loud, always moving. But with her, he slowed down. It was in the way he looked at her, like he already knew. She was different. And Talia, she lived a different kind of life. By day, she was an accountant, structured, focused, precise. But when she got home, that's when she became herself. The heels came off, the music turned low, and the kitchen came alive. Flour on the counter, something always baking, recipes passed down, not written down. She didn't need to be outside. She enjoyed being home, not because she had to, but because that's where she felt complete. Marcus noticed that, the way she didn't move like everyone else, the way she wasn't chasing attention. With Talia, life felt steady, not boring, just real. 6 months later, she moved into his place. It felt natural, easy. Late nights that turned into conversations that didn't feel forced. It felt like they were building something real. Life felt steady, not boring, just real. And for a while, that was enough. Everything was good. Until it wasn't. Then came Naya. She didn't ease into rooms. She took them over. Where Talia was grounded, Naya was always reaching for more. She'd laugh when she saw Talia in the kitchen. You still doing all that baking? That's old school. All those recipes, that's past tense. You supposed to be outside, flossing, living. And it was around that time, when Naya entered the picture, that she first noticed it. There was a shift. Something started to change in Marcus. Not all at once. Not enough to name it, but enough to feel it. Subtle, quiet, but noticeable. The kind of change you can't explain, but you can't ignore. It was one thing to look the other way, to tell herself it came with the life, the attention, the women, the road, things she couldn't see and didn't ask about. But ignoring something doesn't make it disappear, because at some point, it stops being about trust and starts being about risk, not just her heart, her health, her future, the life they hadn't even built yet. Life was too short, and they were too young to inherit consequences. It didn't fall apart all at once. It never does. Marcus was still moving like he had time, like nothing followed him home, like he could keep figuring it out later. It starts with little things, later nights, shorter answers, the kind of distance you can feel before you can explain. He'd come home late, carrying a scent that didn't belong to her. But this wasn't just carelessness. This wasn't just the road. This was different. This was personal. Someone close. Samson. It showed up just enough to matter. Calls he wouldn't answer, at least not when she was around. One night while Marcus was in the shower, Samson called, and she answered. Not out of curiosity, out of certainty. She didn't even speak. She just listened. It was her. Marcus, I've been trying to reach you all day. Easy Bake Betty must be home baking pies. No, I'm standing right here. Why are you calling Marcus? But she didn't let her reply. Never mind. Don't even answer. Save your lies for someone who gives a damn. Then she hung up the phone. The silence that followed felt different. And when Marcus stepped out, he already knew. Not from what she said, but from what she didn't. The moment you stop asking is the moment everything becomes clear. She was done. Done. Done with Marcus. And she was done with the woman she once called friend. He lost her. No shouting, no scene, just silence. The kind that lingers long after someone is gone. Life answered back. She found out she was pregnant. And suddenly, it wasn't about what she lost. It was about what she would build. And she chose to build to what she knew. The recipes, the same things they once laughed at. Long nights, early mornings, doing the work, without needing to be seen. At first, it was small. A few orders, a few people noticing. Then more and more Until small wasn't small anymore. Sweet potato pies, peach cobbler, butter pound cake, cream-filled pastry puffs, the same recipes they called past tense, became her future. And somewhere along the way, she met David. Not loud, not flashy, just present. The kind of man who didn't need attention, because he gave it. Real love. He didn't try to change her. He saw her and chose her. He didn't mind that she was a single mother. If anything, he stepped into the space Marcus had left behind. Not trying to replace him, just showing up. Consistently. Still, Talia questioned it. She'd heard the stories, the warnings, the be carefuls. Was this real? Or just something easier to hold on to? It had been over a year since she left Marcus. But was it enough time? Was David something lasting? Or just a rebound that felt right? But then there was Jayden. The way he looked at David. The way David looked at him. No hesitation. No distance. Just connection. David didn't try to become a father. He just became one. And for Jayden, he was the only one he had ever known. The only one he needed to know. David was different. A few years older. But it showed in more than just age. Where Marcus was still searching, David already knew who he was, what he wanted, and where she fit into it. She wasn't an option. She was the priority, so she let herself be in it. Not rushing, not forcing forever. Just letting it happen, telling herself, if it didn't last, Jayden was still young enough not to carry it. And for now, it made life easier, lighter, happier. Something she could simply enjoy while it lasted. But the end never came. Instead, it grew, slowly, naturally, into something real. 3 years later, they were married. It could have happened sooner. But Talia needed time, not because she didn't believe in him, but because she needed to believe that it was safe to. And when she finally knew, she didn't hesitate. The truth was, David had known all along. He'd seen enough, lived enough, to recognize what mattered. And from the beginning, he knew Talia was it. Not a phase, not a possibility, the choice. A few years later, their world expanded. Ava and Arya came into their lives. 2 more reasons everything she built mattered even more. And while their family grew, so did the business. What started in a quiet kitchen didn't stay there. Orders turned into demand, and demand turned into something far bigger than she ever imagined. Over the next 10 years, that small beginning became a global brand. Her grandmother's recipes were no longer just tradition. They were reaching cities, states, and eventually customers around the world. Alongside her sweet potato pies and peach, apple, and blueberry cobblers, her signature caramel cake and muffins became staples, favorites people came back for again and again. She didn't chase success. She built it, step by step, year by year. And now, she wasn't just doing what she loved, she was living from it, and living well. The same things they once called small had quietly become everything. Life didn't unfold the way Marcus imagined. He played in the league for 4 years, but he never fully recovered from the Achilles injury in his 5th. What should have been his rise quietly turned into a slow decline. He took his game overseas, spending 5 more years moving from team to team, city to city, never quite finding a place to settle. Eventually, he let it go. He made just enough to qualify for his pension and medical coverage, but the reality of it didn't match the dream. His pension wouldn't come until he was 62. Back home, he pieced things together, taking on high school recruiting jobs for a local college, helping young players chase something he once had in his hands. Marcus and Nia didn't last. After Talia left, he blamed Nia and cut her off, even though he knew he carried much of the responsibility himself. It was arrogance, youth, and decisions he couldn't undo. He never married, drifting from one relationship to the next, none of them lasting long enough to matter. He did have a daughter, Christina, who lived in Texas with her mother and her mother's boyfriend. That part stayed with him. The thought of his little girl growing up around a man he didn't know, someone he couldn't protect her from. But there was nothing he could do. Over time, her mother married the man, and Christina grew closer to him. The years Marcus spent overseas created a distance between them that never really closed. Back in the real world, Marcus found himself stuck, Not where he thought he would be. Not who he thought he would become. In what should have been the prime of his life, he felt like he was already fading. He needed something. Purpose, direction, anything to fill the space left behind. He was restless, a little lonely, and more aware than ever of what he had lost. Then one day, while recruiting at a high school game, something caught his eye. Not the senior he came to see, but a freshman. There was something about the kid. The way he ran, the way he shot, the way he smiled and laughed. It all felt familiar. For a moment, it was like looking back in time. He asked around, but no one knew much. The kid wasn't even on the roster, just visiting someone on the other team. And just like that, he was gone, jumping into a car and driving off. But Marcus didn't forget his face. Nia's life didn't turn out the way she expected either. She had a child with a former football player whose best days were already behind him. He moved on, married someone else, and what little support he provided came slower and slower over time. She worked as a buyer for a boutique until the store closed, forcing her to take a part-time job as a sales clerk in a luxury store. Standing in the middle of a lifestyle she once thought would be hers, trying to make ends meet. Life had moved on, just not in the same direction for everyone. Nia stood behind the counter of a luxury store, dressed in someone else's version of success. The lights were bright, the merchandise expensive, but none of it belonged to her. Not anymore. What once felt like a stepping stone had quietly become her reality, a job to hold things together, a life that didn't quite match the one she had imagined. Then the door opened, and David walked in first, confident, composed, effortless. The kind of presence that hadn't changed, only solidified. Nia straightened instinctively, slipping into an old habit, approaching him with a practiced smile and a trace of flirtation. "Can I help you with something?" she asked. David smiled politely. "Yeah, actually you can. I'm looking for something special." And then Talia stepped in. Nia froze, just for a second. David turned slightly, gesturing toward her with quiet pride. "Here's my boss," he joked, before softening. "My wife." The word landed. "The luggage is for our family trip to Europe," he added. "She's being honored. Meilleur ouvrier de France." Nia nodded quickly, catching herself. "Oh, yeah. I heard about your business. Congrats." She held her composure, doing her best to disguise the envy that was becoming harder to hide, even as something beneath the surface quietly shifted, while David continued almost casually, explaining that they were making a trip out of it. Paris, France, and Italy, the whole family. Nia watched them as they moved through the store. Not just what they said, but how they existed together. The ease, the comfort, the quiet understanding. David saw them coming and chuckled. "Here goes half of Talia's Delight's profit margin." Then jokingly, "Hey kids," the twins right behind them. "Mom, can we go to the arcade?" Talia didn't hesitate. "Go straight there. Don't leave. We'll meet you in about 2 hours. Then, turning slightly, "Jayden, Lisa, can I trust you to watch them?" "We got you, Mrs. Michelson," Lisa said with a grin. "But we need some money," Jayden added. "Ask your father," Talia replied calmly. "Dad?" David reached into his pocket, handing him a 50. "It's 4 of us," Jayden said, half smiling. "And it's not 1997, the olden days." David smirked. "Boy." He started to hand over 100, then stopped, thinking twice. "No, wait, you're kids. Does it look like you walking around with that?" He swapped it out. "Here, 5 20s. "Bet," Jayden said, already stepping back. "We'll see you in a minute." David laughed. "All right, go ahead." Nia stood there, watching the rhythm of it all, the connection, the respect, the laughter. Not forced, not fragile, just real. Trying to regain her footing, she added, "Oh, you'll need a full luggage set for the family." "Each," David corrected with a grin. "You don't know how much she packs." For a moment, Nia leaned into it, sensing a sale, a commission, something she could still claim. But Talia had already moved on, her attention shifting elsewhere. "I think John has us covered," she said calmly. Then she looked back at Nia, just for a moment. "Take care, Nia." No edge, no bitterness, just distance. And just like that, it was over again. They walked out the way they came in, together. David and Talia, arm in arm, their life moving forward witut interruption. Nia remained behind the counter, watching as everything she once dismissed quietly walked out the door. Marcus's moment came somewhere else, on a court, under bright gym lights. Jayden was celebrating with his teammates, laughing, alive in the moment, surrounded by friends. The kind of joy Marcus hadn't felt in years. He approached slowly. "Good game," he said. Jayden turned, and for a split second the smile was still there. Then it faded, replaced with something respectful but guarded. "Thanks," he replied. Marcus tried to find his way in. "I've been watching you. You've got something. With the right connections, you could really go far." Jayden nodded briefly, then cut him off. "I appreciate it, but me and my dad, we've got it worked out." The words landed heavier than Marcus expected. He paused, something shifting inside him. "Look, there's something you should know." But Jayden didn't let him finish. "I know who you are," he said, calm and steady. Marcus froze. "My mom told me. You're my donor. My biological father." They stood there looking at each other. Not angry, not emotional, just clear. "Well, it was nice meeting you, Mr. St. Clair," Jayden said. "My family's waiting for me." Marcus didn't move. He just watched as Jayden walked away. No hesitation, no confusion, just certainty. At the edge of the court, David was waiting, calm and present, the way he had always been. As Jayden reached him, David gave him a light, playful hit on the shoulder, then pulled him into a quick hug. Easy, natural, earned. Talia stood nearby. She looked at Marcus for just a moment, gave a quiet nod, not harsh, not soft, just acknowledgement, then turned and fell into step beside David, arm in arm. The twins stayed close. Jayden with them, a family, whole. Marcus stayed where he was, watching them walk away, not called, not needed, not part of it. And for the first time, he didn't question it, he understood it. Because sometimes the life you lose doesn't come back. It keeps going without you. And as the sun began to fall, Jayden walked beside the man who raised him, the one who stayed. And without saying anything more, he made his choice. They walked on together, and Marcus was left behind.